people? Welcome to JT and Liz. I'm Jasmine T, and this is my co-host,
Liz.
A. We are two friends who met abroad teaching English in South Korea, and now we're back in the States, unfortunately. But we talk about our lives abroad all the time and thought it would be pretty cool to talk about it with you. So let's dive right on in with today's topic. I'm very excited about this one. We are talking YOLO moments abroad, situations that we found ourselves in that would have had our friends side-eyeing us if they knew how we were moving in the streets. Okay, so I got my stories lined up. Elizabeth has her stories lined up. Elizabeth, you want to kick us off?
All right. So my first story takes place in Boracay in the Philippines. And I was there alone and I met another solo traveler. And we were just, enjoying ourselves, traveling our part of the island. And we needed to get back, but there were no more of like taxis that could fit both of us there. And so there were motorcycles, and we didn't want to be split up. And she was just like, my mom tells me never to do this, but we don't want to be split up, so let's just do it. And the two of us, we got on the motorcycle. So it was three of us all together on a motorcycle. And I had the nerve to be recording during the whole ride.
I feel some type of way because I've never felt so close to a friend, especially, first off, you just met this girl. I know for a fact if me and you were somewhere and you were like, we need to get here, you wouldn't look at me and be like, I don't want to be split up with you. Do you want to ride on this motorcycle together? And I also wouldn't look at you like that. So who was this chick and why were y'all so close?
We just clicked. I'm one of those introverts where like extroverts, like they come to me for some reason. And that's how we met. Like we were both on the beach looking for different excursions to do, but you needed to be with somebody for it to be cheaper or else it would be really expensive. So she came to me and she was like, hey, I'm here alone. If you're here alone too, do you want to do something together? So this way, like we can afford something. And I was
Gotcha.
like, okay. So
and
yeah.
that's when you take budget travel too far, when you just start doing stuff with strangers for it to be cheaper.
But you know what? We're still close to this day. Like we don't talk all the time, but we do talk. She got married. She had it on Zoom, so she gave me the Zoom link. I was
Oh,
able to pop in. Yeah.
okay. That's
Yeah.
cute. Never heard of her, but that's that's cute. Okay, and by the way, y'all definitely let us know if you think our YOLO moments are light or chaotic. Do you think on a scale of 1 to 10, oh, that's nothing, or 10, you were definitely tripping. You should never do that again. Okay, so that's story number one. What else you got? Because I know I got mine broken up by
Okay.
city. So
Another
let me know.
story is I was in Cambodia. It was me and two other friends. Well, one other friend, and then she had brought a friend from her city. This is we lived in Korea at the time. She was in another part. We decided to link up and go on this trip together to Cambodia. We had went to a few other countries too: Thailand, Malaysia, Cambodia was just one of the stops. So we go, and Cambodia, they're known for their like temples. You want to go temple hopping. And we wanted to go early in the morning so we can see the sunrise, right? So there's sunrise and sunsets that's really popular. So we wanted to do the sunrise. But somewhere during the night, we're in a hostel. There's the three of us and then two other girls. I hear whispering. I wake up to whispering. And it's the girl that my friend had brought with her. And I'm like, I wake up and I'm annoyed. I'm like, what's going on? And then my friend, she's from Chicago, and she's like, yeah, let's just call this girl Marie. I don't know her name. She's like, Marie said she heard screaming, and now I do too.
Oh
And I
hell
was
no!
like,
Sorry.
did I not tell you this too?
No, you have not told me these stories. And I feel some type of way because I thought we were cool.
So I sit up in the bed because I'm waiting to see if I hear screaming too, or this chick just, because, the whole trip, she's just kind of been like afraid of her own shadow. So I'm just like, all right. So I sit up in the bed and I start hearing somebody scream for help. So I was like, okay. So there is.
You hear somebody in the hostel in
Uh-huh. Well,
Cambodia,
actually, it was coming
right?
from like outside. It was coming from outside. Um, And the other two girls, I look down at them because it's like bunk beds. They're in the same bed, hugged up, like they're afraid. So I'm like, okay. So the girl from Chicago, right? My friend. So I look at her and we're just like, she goes to the window. She don't like peek her head out or anything, but so she knows like, okay, I don't see no commotion, but I know it's coming from the street. No, we didn't know where the screams were coming from. We were trying to figure out, is it from inside the hostel or is it from outside? So she kind of walks in the window to see if she hears any commotion in the street. She wasn't too sure if it was coming from the street. I go to the door. I don't open it, but I just press my ear up to see if I hear anything coming. And we really can't figure out where it's coming from. So we wait to see if we hear screams again. We hear the screams again. And me and her, like, we're really listening. They're, like, healthy screams. And I know that sounds crazy. But it's like, it's not, like, she had time to, like, let all the air, like, exhale. And then do it again. So we were like, okay, like, maybe, like, something else is going on. Like, you know what I'm saying? Nobody's trying to smother her mouth. Like,
oh gosh,
right. So I mean, this is how we have to try to like break down the situation. So we're like, okay, maybe everything's all right. So I go back to sleep. She goes back to sleep. But the commotion did last a long time, just trying to figure out like, can we go back to sleep? So by the time we decided, like, all right, it's safe enough to go to sleep, we woke up too late for the to see the Cambodian sunrise thing. But I think for me now, I would not have gone back to sleep. Me now, at my current, like, because I would think, I don't know, is somebody gonna break into the room? Am I going to, like, you know what I'm saying? Back then, it was just like, all right, I feel like she might be okay. And that ended up turning out to be the reason. There was just some type of, like, episode this particular woman was having, and I guess people were trying to, like, calm her down, and she, you know, they couldn't. And so they just kind of let her because they didn't want to create more of an issue. But I don't think that's something I would have handled that probably different.
Gotcha.
Now. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, considering that it wasn't in the hostel, correct? It was outside.
Yeah, yeah.
I would have went back to sleep.
Yeah.
All day. I ain't got nothing to do with that. I'm in another country. I'm minding my business. That sounds horrible, but I can't, whenever I'm somewhere else where I'm the foreigner, I can't afford to get caught up. I don't know y'all's systems.
Right.
And I don't know what's the setup, and I don't know what how could this turn around on me? You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, you did right. You definitely did right. That's crazy. I know I gave you a side eye about your little relationship with the Filipina girl, and I feel some type of way. But that actually brings me into a story where I was out with some strangers in Berlin. So when I was doing the stand-up comedy, like the open mic stuff, I remember I went to Berlin for a set, and I met this girl. She was a comedian. I met this girl backstage, and she told me about some other open mic nights or whatnot. So long story short, went to one and then ended up performing at it a few days later, and she was there, and she was just like, yeah, I like your stuff. By the way, you know, we're having a party. It's his birthday. Do you want to come back to the apartment or whatnot? And I was just like, yeah. And went back to the apartment. It was, first off, that was actually the night I knew I couldn't live in Berlin. It was 3 very adult people.
Wait, what is very adult? Because we're
like
so
35 plus sharing a 3-bedroom apartment. And I was just like, that's not the life I want to live. You know what I mean? And because I guess she was just talking about, I didn't want to be like a struggling person in Berlin. And she was talking about all the, you know, the gig economy and what each person was doing. It was kind of like when you moved to New York with no money. Okay. These were people who moved to Berlin with no money and were all living and sharing this apartment together. So long story short, throughout the night, more people started coming. I was listening to people's stories, and it's just like nobody really had their stuff together.
Were you the only black person there?
There was one other.
Okay.
And he was fresh off the plane because he hadn't been there 2 weeks, I don't think.
Okay.
And he had a situation where he was struggling. We'll talk about that another time, but somebody kept calling him boy, and he was struggling with it.
Oh.
And the guy wasn't American, so I'm just like, in what vernacular, like, where is it okay to call a grown man boy?
Right.
And it was funny because he was visibly getting upset, and there was an older white man from Texas in the kitchen, and he was trying to figure out what was happening. And I looked at him, I was just like, he keeps calling him boy, and he was like, oh no, you can't do that. It was just chaotic. The whole thing was chaotic. And so it all started where, like, I'm walking down the hallway in this apartment, and in one of the rooms, every room is filled because clearly we were in the kitchen.
Right.
And they were recording for this YouTube video. I don't know what it was about, but they were like, hey, they were trying to get people to come in. So I walked by. They're like, hey, come in, join our YouTube video. And I was like, nope. And
I'm surprised you said no, though, because you were YouTubing at the time.
I didn't know what they were on.
Okay.
I don't know what was happening because the next time I passed that room, the YouTube room became the cocaine room.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh, I'm glad I didn't go in there.
Oh, imagine.
I was like, And so I went back to the kitchen because that was my safe space.
Oh my
And I was talking to that girl who invited me, and I was just like, yeah. Like, I was telling her about all the vibes. Like, as more and more people were coming, like, vibes started changing in each room or whatnot. And then, long story short, I was kind of just talking to her about the people I've met, and it really felt like people were coming to Berlin and creating, like, new versions of themselves or looking for new, a new quality of life, which is fair.
Right.
But it just felt weird to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just wasn't vibing with it. And she looked at me and she was like, Jasmine, this is Berlin. You can be whoever you want to be tonight.
Wow.
And I was like, at the time I was in therapy, probably should go back. But I was in therapy and I was like, I'm paying money now to figure out the person I am. Like, I ain't got time to be out here, taking an off day like, oh, I'm going to be this person tonight. I don't know. I felt like you could easily sink into something else there.
Yeah. Oh, that's a little scary.
It was scary. That's exactly what it was. I was like.
In other words, I felt like that was an invite to the cocaine room.
That was it.
That's
look,
what it sounded
when
like.
she said I could be whoever I want to be tonight, and I wasn't sure what team she was playing for. Listen, I was like, And she walked me to the
she did?
transport. Yeah.
Girl.
That's it.
Oh my goodness. See, I don't think I've ever had anything like that happen. Where I go into a space, expecting just to be on some like low key, chilling, after party type stuff, and they doing that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because from my friendship circle in the U.S., like that's not what they're on. So if your friendship circle is like this might be light to you. Might be very, very light. Okay.
So now, how soon did you leave when you like left that room and you were like, so
I mean, I hung out for a bit because I was in the kitchen. I just didn't go back there.
Oh.
After I saw that, I was just like,
see, I would have been afraid that, well, probably not, but I don't know, honestly. But nowadays, I'll be afraid like they about to do a raid on this place.
Oh,
take the whole down.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't think I really thought like that. Like if somebody came in here, and also the kitchen was at the front of the apartment.
Okay,
I saw to me, it could have been like an escape plan. I was at the front of the apartment in a way, so just chilling in the kitchen in the corner where it was safe. Okay, I got two more.
Okay.
And this one, as you do in Amsterdam, I decided I was going to eat a space cake.
Okay.
Have we talked about this?
I've never heard of a space cake, but considering it's Amsterdam, I can kind of figure out that it's something.
Yes, it is an edible. It's one of the many things that you can get in Amsterdam. Now, I will say, I only decided I was going to do this because I knew somebody else, like one of the comedians from Warsaw was going to be in town. And I knew that even though like we weren't best of friends, I knew that if something happened, he wouldn't leave me on the sidewalk. So I think if I was solo dolo, like out there, I don't think, well, I know I wouldn't have, because that wasn't my first time in Amsterdam and I didn't try anything before. Okay. So I was just like, okay, I know he's going to be there. I'll try something with him. But where I messed up was everybody else got something to smoke, and I just don't like the act of smoking, and I'm the only one that got an edible, not realizing that edibles take longer to take effect. So they were all feeling something, and I was sitting there chilling, waiting for things to kick in. So that was one red flag. The red flag before that was...
I never knew of this story, by the way.
Really? Okay. Yeah. The red flag before that is because I'm buying an edible. I'm buying like a cake-like thing, and I have tree nut allergies. I generally ask before I buy something, like, are there any nuts? Like, that's just what I ask always. And so I remember we're in the little shop and everybody's buying their stuff. And I look at the guy and I was just like, yeah, can I get that? Are there any nuts in that? And he was like, I don't know. Try a little bit and find out. I was like, shit. Okay. It was a very much like, we're busy. Do you want this or not?
Right.
Kind of vibe. So I was mindful of like, okay, let me try a little bit just to make sure I'm not having an allergic reaction. Only thinking about nut allergy, not thinking, let me try a little bit because this is clearly a space cake. Right. I ate more than I was supposed to. Ooh, I didn't think about...
Wait, on the sample? Or just in general?
No, I had to buy it.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he wasn't like, try a little bit, here's a sample. He was like, buy it, and when you do, try a little bit. If you start having something happen... Then you know. But you gonna buy this first. And so... yeah, I definitely ate more than I should have. And as they're all feeling the effects of this recreational activity, instead of feeling positive effects first, one of my lymph nodes in my groin starts swelling up.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm in pain. I'm talking about walking and like, because my body is just like, I don't know what you just put in me.
And this happens with nuts, or
no? This happened. This was not an allergic reaction to nuts.
Oh.
This was an allergic reaction to whatever was going on with the space cake. Because if I'm not mistaken, somebody explained this to me before, and y'all can correct me in the comments. But it's kind of like not illegal to sell, but from what I understand, there's no overseeing of how things are manufactured. So there's no like regulations on how things are manufactured. So it's easy to not really know what's in the space cake. I could have that wrong, but I don't know what was in it.
Wow.
Sounds horrible. Welcome to YOLO moments. So I'm walking with old buddy from Warsaw along the canal. Like, hey man, I am like, I feel, I don't feel sick, but I'm like, I'm in pain, like physically in pain. Eventually that subsides. Well, he did say, you should have just smoked with us. That's what he said. He was like, I don't know why you got the edible. So long story short, the pain subsides and the high kicks in.
Oh my goodness.
But at this point, it's much later. Part of the group is splitting up to go wherever. I don't really know them like that. The guy that I do know is like, I got to catch a train tomorrow. So he starts heading to public transportation. So I'm just like, I guess I need to go back to the hostel because I don't need to be anywhere else like right now except back in my room. So it hits me. I'm high as fuck on the public transportation, like on the tram. To the point
were you nervous? Well, you probably don't remember.
Well, this is what I do remember. I remember I knew that I was in a state enough to get back to where I needed to go.
Okay.
Me and him had separated. I'm on the tram or whatever you call it, and I sneeze. And when I tell you, I felt every vertebrae in my spine. Like, that's how alert my senses were. And I was just like, holy crap. Because I've just never had that sensation before. And then I get back to the hostel. I see a guy that I saw earlier in the day, had a very weird conversation with him. And then I was just like, it's time to get back to my room. And that's where I went back to my room by myself. And had
So
the
it was
hardest.
one of those hostels where you can have your own room. You're not like with like other people.
I had an all-female bunk situation.
Okay.
And I don't recall if anybody was there when I got back. I
Okay.
climbed in my bed and I had the hardest sleep I ever had.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I think I've always been a little too afraid to do something like that.
I only did it because
You're
Robbie
overseas.
was there.
YOLO. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Because I don't partake like that, I wouldn't do that if I was, solo. Like truly, truly solo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Goodness gracious. You got something similar? I got one more story.
Similar.
Oh. So that's not light to you.
That is no, that's not light to me.
Let me tell you why I thought it was light. Because there was so many other things I could have done. I could have gone with that group and not gone back to the tram. I could have kept talking to that the reason I stopped, I saw the guy in the hostel I had seen earlier, I think at a meetup or a hangout event or something. Didn't realize he was in the hostel. And I remember talking to him and not being mindful of my voice. So I thought I was yelling. And then it caught my, like, am I yelling? And then I started whispering. And I was like, I need to get out of public. That's why I just cut the conversation.
It's probably like, what's going on with this girl?
But you also know you're in Amsterdam, so he just smiled. But that was a pretty cool hostel because the night before I actually went out with two young guys to this club. And I was just like, I'm too old for this shit. I wasn't under the influence of anything then. I needed to be out with them. But I just, that was a pretty cool hostel situation. It was all good. Okay, so my last one, and then we'll definitely circle back to yours. I never told you this one.
Okay.
I know I didn't.
I'm curious.
We are definitely telling stories that may not have been shared before. When I was in Tokyo, and I was basically on a vacation from teaching from our school in South Korea. I had matched with a guy on Tinder.
Okay.
And it was I basically got an invite to extend my stay and fly somewhere with him. All resorts, like all expenses paid, and just spend time. You know what I mean? And the reason I didn't, the main reason I didn't, I had to go back to, like, I would have had to not go back to the school. So, and, our job was tied to our living situation. Right. Our visas was tied to our job. Everything was interconnected. Right. So I just didn't know what would happen. But I legit contemplated not going back.
What did he do? Where was he trying to take you?
I don't remember. But that's one of the things I think back on. Now, mind you, it was a split second that I thought about not going back to South Korea, but then common sense did kick in and be like, this could be a human trafficking situation. And there is a possibility that you might not, you might not be sitting here today at 35. I don't remember.
Oh, goodness, girl.
I just don't remember. I just remember having that option presented to me. And it's just one of those things where I think door one, door two. What would life look like today? And sometimes I think of that situation. I'm very glad I took the door that I did. I want to say that. But it just goes to show you when you're traveling, you will be presented with some options.
Yeah.
And you could either be here full of hell or you could be strung out in them streets.
Right.
Which one you go to?
There are definitely options you probably wouldn't have encountered like here in the States. So, yeah.
I mean,
Interesting.
yeah, not in South Carolina. We don't have those options. So, those are my stories. Would you care to share more? Or
Well, this is like super light.
okay,
It was just like new forms of relaxation that happens overseas. I mean, maybe drugs can be one of them. I don't know. But for just new forms of like relaxation that like you encounter or you like explore overseas that you probably would not have thought to do that. Like for me, it started in Korea with like the jjimjilbangs, going to the sauna, then the type of thing. Like, okay, I will go get a scrub twice a year. I like to go like once a week to the sauna, jjimjilbang, especially if I'm sick. Yoni steam, like face mask, like all the things. Like
gotcha.
I was not thinking about none of this here in the States.
That's
And I
fair.
find that now that I'm back, like you try to recreate that level of like self, what's the word I'm looking for? Just
Self
like,
care in a way.
yeah, that level of self-care that you had over there. And you just realize it's just so much easier to do overseas and like
Yeah.
harder to do here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. Yeah, them. I did that jjimjilbang once, like the full, like the bathhouse
Only once,
experience.
really?
Girl. Why have you done it so many times? But
I guess though thinking like, okay, being back in America, I would probably question like, are y'all really cleaning this? Are y'all really scrubbing yourselves before y'all
yeah.
getting in the water? But over there, you know, like you're scrubbing yourself before you get in the water, and you know other people are watching you scrub yourself before you get. So you're being judged if you're not scrubbing yourself well enough. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know I did the jjimjilbang video. I remember. Okay, that scrub was wild. That scrub by the older lady while you're butt naked is wild.
yeah,
And then I remember being in like the pool is you know how they're basically like little swimming pools, but you're not
Yeah.
swimming, you're just sitting and submerged. I remember I was like floating because I didn't want my butt to touch the bottom.
are you serious,
Because I was like, who else but me needs this?
girl?
I was not.
You were
And
just
the
on
next-
a metal slab getting scrubbed.
I know it was, and I when I tell you, this memory feels like I did it yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
I'm glad I did it because I mean I got to have that experience. I
Yes.
think Margaret went a couple times, but yeah, ooh, and one thing because me and her made a pact. I said I will never go to a jjimjilbang with you. And I would never go with you. I don't think I could
Why?
sit next to you butt naked. I'm not sitting next to you. You better let me know when you go, so I won't be in the vicinity.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not doing that. Let me know when you sit butt naked next to your friend at a jjimjilbang.
I've gone with groups of friends though.
Y'all are crazy.
No, we're not. We all go out together. We chill. We go eat. We've all done that before.
Yeah, that's a different level of friendship. I don't think I'm that emotionally available for y'all. I'm really not.
I don't know. To me, it's just like going to the store. Like, yeah, going to the movies.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's a different level of openness. All right, that's going to be it for us today. Please let us know your thoughts. Also, let us know what are your wildest travel moments. We definitely want to hear from you. Drop them in the comments or hit us up on our socials. Thank you so much for tuning in to JT and Liz, and we will catch y'all on the next one. Bye.
Bye.